You set the gold standard for your business. Your website should do the same. Wix puts you at the helm so you can enjoy the creative freedom of designing your site just the way you want. Want someone to bounce your ideas off? Talk with AI to create a beautiful site together. Whatever your business, manage it from one place and tie it all together with a personalized domain name. Gear up for success with a brand that says you best. You can do it yourself on Wix.
Oh, I've got too many bills.
If you need funds, you can apply in minutes at cashnetusa.com and have the money in your account as soon as the same business day.
Okay, got it. Applying now.
They've been helping hardworking people cover emergency expenses since 2004.
Hey, look, I got it.
You've got this.
When you need money fast, be the hero. All loans subject to lender approval. Speed of funding is subject to verifications and your bank's processing times. See cashnetusa.com for more details.
You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You are now entering the Pseudo-Archaeology Podcast, a show that uncovers what's fact, what's fake, and what's fun in the crazy world of pseudo-archaeology. Hello and welcome to the Pseudo-Archaeology Podcast, episode 162. I'm your host, Dr. Andrew Kinkella, and tonight, I, Dr. Andrew Kinkella, go to the Society for American Archaeology meetings in Denver. Okay. Hello and welcome back. It's nice to be back here. It's nice to be talking to you people. And what makes it so nice? I feel like I haven't done this in a little while. I feel like this every so often, man, where I'm like, it's been a while. And I just looked and it's actually been 17 whole days since I last did a recording. And okay, I don't know, but I don't know, man. I like doing this. Sometimes I will say sometimes I worry about coming up with topics. And then a day or two before I'm supposed to record, the spirit strikes me, man, and I think of something. And a lot of times it's right in front of my face, like today's theme, the SAA meetings, the Society for American Archaeology meetings. I just went there. So why not talk about it? And I think sometimes as archaeologists, or as really any job that any of us have, since you do it all the time, you forget that not everyone does that. Or you do something that you think is quote unquote, quote, normal, but it's weird. It's different. Like going to professional meetings, like a bunch of archaeologists coming together and talking about stuff. What? Is that a thing? So in terms of professional meetings, there are like a series of organizations. And you can pick your poison. You can go to as many or as few or as zero as you want. So in archaeology, the SAAs, they're, I would say, the big mama. They're the mothership. They are the kind of most old school, I would say, conservative. I don't mean politically conservative. I just mean they've been doing it forever. I believe the first year of the SAAs was 1935 or something like this. This year's meeting was the 90th meeting. So it's the 90th annual SAAs. And there are other groups. There's the AAAs, which is the American Anthropological Association, who are that much more conservative, old school, blue blood. Always felt to me very East Coasty, stuffy professor kind of situation. And then there are smaller ones. There can be the Society for California Archaeology. There can be, like in my case, working in Belize, there's the Belize Symposium, Belize Archaeology Symposium meetings, and you can go so on and so on. Sort of every regional area has their own smaller meetings, and then you have these big ones. I'm sure if you're in biology or geology or any of the ologies, all of this is generally similar. And I've always felt like a bit of an outsider at these meetings, if I'm honest. I have to say, even though I have many friends, I don't go every year. I'm not even a member of a lot of these societies. I haven't been a member of the AAAs in forever because I find them completely lost in the past. More on that later. But I'm a member of the SAAs half the time. It also, all this stuff costs money. And sometimes I feel like I'm being fleeced a little bit. I really enjoy the smaller ones, though. Like the California archaeology meetings, I really like because it's just a bit more intimate and you can just hang and it's a little bit more chill. And the Belize meetings kick ass. And just as the years have gone by, for myself, who's like a tenured professor who's had a successful career, who does what I like, I'm like, oh, okay, meetings, what do you have for me? You know what I mean? So I'm always torn, and because of the cost, I tend to only go if they're in state. I live in California, or if they're fairly close by. And this year they were in Denver, and I actually got an invite to be part of a symposium. That's where 10 or 15 specialists get together and do a thematic presentation. And since my dissertation is on the cenotes of Belize, there was this underwater symposium that they were doing, and they just invited me out of the blue to be a part of it. And that was super cool. And I have to say, I had a great time. Those guys were just really nice and professional. And what you do is you stand up and you give a 15-minute presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation. And you just show some images and you talk about your work. And that's how these meetings go, these annual meetings, right? You go in and there'll be a lot of people there. This was at a convention center where there's like 40 different rooms and there's different things going on. And so there's literally, I don't know what the official count was, but let's say there were 2,000 archaeologists there or something like that. It's a full deal, full on convention, but you break off into your little groups. And of course, the best parts are like seeing old friends and this kind of thing. I saw my old friend Jason, who I hadn't seen in years, and that was so much fun. It was so nice to catch up and just reminisce a bit. And I had to admit what a crappy friend I am. And I am a crappy friend. And I hate that about myself. I wish I would just reach out to my old friends more often than I do, because these people are super important to me. So that's the take home, friends. Just reach out to your old friends more. Don't be like me. So anyway, I decided to go to this meeting largely because I'm invited to be a part of this symposium and give my little 15-minute talk. But these things always last several days. In this case, this year it was from April 23rd to 27th. And I forget exactly the days of the week, but it's always, if you're going to go for the full thing, you get there a Wednesday night and you leave Sunday afternoon. That's a long half a week. I never stay that long because these things, I don't know, they burn me out. I love seeing my old friends and that kind of stuff, but I can't take listening about archaeology that much. Which I know seems funny, but I love going for a day or two. So and it costs, like it's expensive, right? So I decided I would go Wednesday night, and Thursday morning is when the meetings start. I was set to present on Thursday morning at 9:30 in the morning. And the symposium was just the morning only, right? There'll be like, let's say 12 presentations, and that's it. And you just shake hands, good luck, God bless, and move along. Nothing wrong with that. So I was going to do that. And I had some other things, some other public archaeology stuff I was going to do, right? This is like how to do public outreach to the archaeology community. And that was going to be like Thursday afternoon. And then I was just going to hang out Thursday night, one more night, and then leave on Friday, being able to at least see some of the meetings on Friday. And that's it. And so that was my plan, right? And what ended up happening was my plan did work. It went into full effect, but it didn't go how I thought. And it was a good thing. It was an interesting thing. It had a lot to do about pseudo-archaeology, which is why I'm bringing all of this up. Basically, I did my presentation, right? All good. But then in the afternoon, Flint, Dibble, and Milo Rossi, who's Mini Minute Man on YouTube, had this sort of what they called the classroom of 1 million. It was a presentation on how archaeologists could use social media to reach out to the general public. And I was supposed to have nothing to do with this. And I know we're all shocked. You're like, what? Andrew Kinkella was not invited with a bottle of champagne? I know. I was shocked and appalled. But I actually got wrapped up in it in the last minute. And this is because I had been listening to Flint Dibble's, he was doing a live stream on YouTube. And for those of you who don't know, Flint Dibble is the archaeologist who went up against Graham Hancock on the Joe Rogan show. And Flint's a great guy. I really get a kick out of Flint. He's very cool. I was listening to his YouTube, his live stream, which I just do from time to time. For whatever reason, the algorithm, of course, connects me to Flint, and I get like a notification like, oh, his live stream's going right now. And sometimes I'll just be in my office and I'll turn it on and he'll be talking, he'll be interviewing some guy about pseudoarchaeology and this kind of stuff. And sometimes I troll a little in the comments just for good fun, and we have a laugh, and that's really great. Anyway, I'm watching his live stream, and he was talking about that he was going to do this presentation with Milo Rossi, but that he wasn't feeling well and he wasn't going to be able to make the meetings. And I was like, oh, no, bummer, because one of my top secret plans, friends, these meetings aren't just to present your stuff. They are to like make connections, right? This is career kind of stuff. And one of my top secret plans was to actually meet Flint Dibble in person, which I never have, which feels so weird because he's one of those guys who I've interacted with a bunch of times, and we're always in the same conversation on stuff because it's like pseudo-archaeology stuff. And I'm like, it's a trip. I've never just said, hey, in person to Flint Dibble. This is weird. So one of my top secret plans was definitely to just meet him at the SAAs and say, hey, what's up? It was actually, I think it was probably my number one plan. But I'm like, damn it, he's not going. Damn it. And then, listeners, I hatched a plan. You know how I am. This is a self-serving plan. And what this plan was, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get in touch with Flint Dibble and say I could help him on his thing, even though he wasn't going to be there. Thus, just getting to know Flint Dibble a little more. See, I'm just, it's all about my career. So I emailed him, I think, and I was like, hey, Flint, I heard that you can't make it. And in honesty, I was like, dude, if I can help you, I'll help you with the presentation. It's totally fine, because his presentation was, as I said, was going to be Thursday afternoon. And I was already good. I had done my presentation on Thursday morning, so I was just going to be cruising around the conference. And I'm like, dude, I could come in and just turn your slide projector on or whatever, help with the people who were coming in. And he wrote back, he said, yeah, that would be great. And I'm like, cool. And so I planned just to go in that afternoon and help with the presentation, kind of be the B team person, because Milo Rossi was going to be there, and just enjoy the presentation and enjoy that a group of people were all going to come together and talk about pseudoarchaeology and the media, obviously something that I know a little about. And I was like, in terms of being a public archaeologist, I always feel that term is weird. I'm like, and I know I am one, and I know I'm like pretty high up in the top secret cabal of public archaeologists. But I was like listing in my brain, and I'm like, what makes me a public archaeologist? Again, the term, I always wish there was a different term than public archaeologist. It means you are reaching out to the public using normal words to try and make archaeology sound cool to people. That's what it is. But I was like, okay, what makes me a public archaeologist? And I was like, dude, my list is long. I'm like, all right, I've been a part of, I think, over a dozen separate TV shows or series at this point, on the Discovery Channel, on the History Channel, whatever. It's like I have an agent. I work with them on all that stuff. I got my sweet YouTube channel, Kinkella Teaches Archaeology, which is near and dear to my heart, which I love. I have this podcast where you're listening to my awesome tones. I teach at a community college. I teach 6 classes a semester. Dude, I do guest lectures. I just did one at San Diego a couple weeks ago. I wrote my own textbook. I'm like, man, when I think about it, my time where my voice is talking about archaeology, like week by week, the actual hours where I am blabbing and blathering to fellow humans about archaeology, I'm like, am I the top dog? It's just, I spend so much time talking about this stuff, which is great. I ain't complaining. This is the sweet life, friends. But I'm like, yeah, I'm an entity. Anyway, when we come back, more on the SAA meetings.
It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker with a website that fits your unique vision and drives you towards your goals. Let your ideas flow with AI tools that guide you, but give you full control and flexibility. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. Get everything you need to turn your part-time passion into a full-time business. Go to Wix.com.
Surprise bill? Need fast funds? CashNet USA can help. When you need money fast, be the hero.
Apply in minutes at cashnetusa.com and get a fast decision. All loans subject to lender approval. Speed of funding is subject to verifications and your bank's processing times.
Hello and welcome back to the Pseudo Archaeology Podcast, episode 162. And I am your host, Dr. Andrew Kinkella. And we have been just starting to talk about the meetings, the Society for American Archaeology meetings in Denver. And at the end of the last segment, I was just bragging about myself, about how much public outreach I do. I wonder if you guys can notice or not, but my voice is like really hoarse. And it's because I've had a sore throat this last week. And I actually just got back from filming one of those TV show spots in New York City. It was one of those crazy things where I flew out early on a Saturday morning, like really early. And then I got back on Sunday night. It was like one day we filmed Sunday morning only for 90 minutes. And then that's it. Right. I was worried because I had a sore throat right before and I was sounding all hoarse and I was doing everything to try and like not sound terrible. It all worked out, but man, that was a close one. So yeah, dude, I bleed for the public, dude. Anyway, back to the meetings. So did my cenote thing and that was all cool. And then it was time to just get something to eat, peruse the bookstore. That's another big thing at these meetings. It's always the bookstore. So it's just cruising through the bookstore because that's where you can just maximum nerd out. If you're at biology meetings, there'll be a biology bookstore and they're selling all the latest stuff. And I always buy a book or two. I bought a book on stone tools. I know, scintillating. But it was cool for me because this is where kind of the research side comes in. And it's hard sometimes to find very specific publications on stuff. It's like I'm doing a little research on some stone tools and I'm like, man, I really need a book on some of this. And it was just nice to see that a new one had come out. So I bought it. So there's that, right? But then it was time to prep for Flint and Milo's thing. But before that, there was another little symposium thing, another little group talking about like media outreach in archaeology. And so I'm like, dude, I'm going to watch this. And I went in. It was very lightly attended, which is going to be one of my first beefs about the SAA in general and academics in general. Now, normal old like academic talks, like even mine on the cenotes, they tend to be fairly like lightly attended, except for like certain talks that are really beefed up or really advertised in this little world. Small meaning like, oh, maybe there's 20 people in the audience or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that day to day. But what I notice as the years have gone by is that conservatism in the academic world, and again, I don't mean politically conservative, academically conservative, they look at public outreach as second-class citizens. They always have, and they continue to, and it drives me nuts. So first, this forum on media outreach, which all archaeologists need, because let's face it, one of my other big beefs, most archaeologists, the huge percentage of them, are terrible at this. Have you heard them talk? I did at the meetings. And let's be honest, even without the public media outreach, their presentations in their own little symposiums, the vast percentage of them suck. I saw people get up and read their papers. I hate that, you guys. Like, you're a researcher. You know this stuff cold. Talk off the top of your head. You have a PowerPoint presentation there. Glance at your PowerPoint, remember what you're talking about, talk from your head, and maybe even, oh my God, from your heart. Yeah, have that thing that I like to call emotion. This is what's going to kill us. This is what's going to kill us in archaeology. It's like these passionless people who cannot for their life give a presentation. I saw so many of these, you guys. It never gets better. And as the years go by, I get more bitter, more resentful, and more angry because I try to help these people. I try, and they just don't listen. And then they bitch that nobody's into archaeology and they're losing funding and they're losing students. And I'm like, geez, I wonder why. Anyway, I go to this other presentation on media outreach in general, and it's lightly attended. All the people who need to listen to this are not there. And it was interesting. It was odd. It was not what I expected. Their presentation was mainly on if you're working for a large archaeology company or large archaeology project and something goes wrong, like something looks bad, like even beyond archaeology. Let's say you're working on like a oil pipeline and the pipe bursts and oil spills out. A lot of their presentation was like what you do when you're a part of that. That's almost like media control. It was called a forum on media outreach, I believe, but that's media control, right? That's like emergency maintenance. That's a different thing, which has its own interest. I'm not like disparaging those dudes at all. It's a different thing, right? I think they would have been better off to sell it like that because there's really two things there. There's the control emergency crazy things going on that could look terrible. How do you play the media to make yourself look okay? And that has its own interest. And that is not something that I know a ton about. So I was fascinated by some of those guys just talking about how to do that, right? But then there's also just media outreach. There's media control, media outreach. These are two things. On the media outreach side, I don't think that they talked about it very much in the right way. What I was worried about was, as I listened to their presentation, because so much of it was on media control, if I was a young person and I was listening to this in archaeology and I was listening to this presentation, I would have been really scared to do anything in terms of public outreach, because a lot of what they were saying was all about be careful, be controlled, have a controlled statement, this kind of stuff. That's fine if you're in the middle of a shit show. That's needed. But if you're just like doing archaeology and want to get it to the public, no, do not be controlled. Do not worry. I even raised my hand at the end. I was like, you guys, I just want to say this, that like, especially for young people listening, you want to just talk about what you're doing plainly. And I always say, be bold, right? Be bold. Say what you mean. Be simple. Don't use jargon and just get out there. Archaeology is dying and we need to do something about it. And I just wish that would get out there, and it just doesn't, not nearly enough. And to their great credit, they really listened to me. And I talked to a lot of them on the panel afterwards, and they were super cool. I really enjoyed talking to the professionals who were on that media outreach panel. They even asked me maybe to be a part of it next time. I would love to do something like that. And maybe we can think of it like, here's the part on emergency control, and then here's the part on outreach. It's two very different things. Anyway, I never want archaeologists to be worried about reaching out. Got to do it, man. Got to do it. Do it again. We are dying. We need more of this. And either way, as I said, the meeting so unfortunately was lightly attended. And yet another thing that drives me nuts about academic meetings like this, a meeting like that will be lightly attended, but another group, another symposium on the latest Marxist bullshit and how it can relate to your archaeology finds, that one's going to be heavily attended. Ugh, who cares? I am so sick of like the overcooked theory in archaeology. And it's all like Marxist based approach, Marxist, blah, 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 to the point. And look, I understand that like Marxism is one way to look at things, but you know what? And I'm going to be very edgy here. There's other ways to look as well. And I know I'm not nearly as smart as the theoreticians who do all this crap. But gee, to me, when I look at Marxism and I look at the 20th century and I look at places like the Soviet Union or China or Indochina or Central America or South America, stop me when you need. When I look at those various regimes based in Marxism, wow, it didn't work at all and millions of people died. I know I'm just a simpleton, though. Anyway, when we return, let's get to the Milo Rossi Flint Dibble part.
No offense, but your brain is a terrible place to keep your big idea. It belongs in the world, but you know that already. You have a calling, a voice that says, this is what I'm meant to do. Create the website your big idea deserves with Wix. Make it your own with top-to-bottom customization, AI to help realize your vision, and built-in business tools to turn your daydream into your dream job. Wix supports every stage of the business journey except one. Your decision to begin. Ready? Go to Wix.com.
Oh, I've got too many bills.
If you need funds, you can apply in minutes at cashnetusa.com and have the money in your account as soon as the same business day.
Okay, got it. Applying now.
They've been helping hardworking people cover emergency expenses since 2004.
Hey, look, I got it.
You've got this.
When you need money fast, be the hero. All loans subject to lender approval. Speed of funding is subject to verifications and your bank's processing times. See cashnetusa.com for more details.
Hello and welcome back to the Pseudo Archaeology Podcast, episode 162. I'm your host, Dr. Andrew Kinkella, and we have been discussing the SAA meetings in Denver. And I have been bitching about academia and the over-theorized archaeology, which is so sad because it is killing my precious archaeology. I miss just listening to simple, straightforward archaeological presentations. I don't want to hear your high-end theory, jargon-laced horseshit where when you're like, you see, the ontological approach to the post-Marxist deconstructionism is that, well, at this nexus of space, and I sit there and I listen and I'm like, I have to translate it for 5 minutes. I'm like, wait, so what you're saying is human beings tend to live near water? Oh, God. And I swear to God, you guys, like 85% of these presentations are this shit. And we wonder why the public doesn't give a damn about this anymore. So let's fix that. Let me take you to Thursday afternoon and the Milo Rossi Flint Dibble presentation. And this was a workshop. So these are things where at these meetings where people have to pay to come in, and it's a more hands-on thing. I think it's not huge. It's like the people who pay $25 or something like this to come in and have several hours where the people running it will basically teach you how to do something or really go into a skill or something like this. So it's not just us delivering papers. It's us talking with the audience and helping them out on problems. These are fun. And I went in a bit before it started. And of course, Flint was not there, but Milo was. I met Milo Rossi, and Milo was just the coolest cat. I really appreciate that guy. I'm so happy he's in the universe doing this stuff. It's probably just pure narcissism because he reminds me of myself, but he's great. If he has a YouTube channel, Mini Minuteman, I believe he has over 2 million followers or something like this. He's a big YouTube. He really is a YouTube sensation. Good for him. He makes great content, really debunking pseudoscience in general, but a lot of what he does is archaeology focused. And that guy works. He does a lot. I know from running my silly little jalopy channel, Kinkella Teaches Archaeology, that sometimes I'll go months between posting anything because I got a day job. I got so much to do. He is on it. Every week he has stuff. several days don't go by. He has stuff like it's very impressive. That takes a lot of work and time, and it's quality. Good for him. So I just got to meet and talk and hang out and BS with them for a while. And it was a very easy interaction. It's so nice when you meet someone like that, where you just feel like that kind of peas in a pod thing, and you can just be yourself and you can just joke around. And the other person is like right there with you. Dude, I'm not burying the lead. It was a joy working with him, man. The dude was great. For any of you who are fans of his, he's exactly how you think he is, you know? Where I know I'm very different in person, friends. I am controlled. My voice is metered. So anyway, we set up the stuff, which is just really set up the computer to have a PowerPoint presentation. And then we let the audience come in. And it wasn't a huge, it was like 35 people or something like that. Let's say 40 people, maybe max. It was like a classroom. Speaking of rooms, my first bitch of many about the SAAs in general, in terms of this presentation, the room, it was in the world's worst room. Now, it wasn't the worst room in terms of technology or anything like that, or space. Location, it was literally storage room B, you guys. It was one of the hardest rooms to find in the entire convention center. I was really worried that some of the audience was not going to find it at all. Maybe they didn't. But dear Society for American Archaeology, if you have a guest like Stefan Milo, who has decided to come here, I keep saying Stefan Milo. Oh my God. How many times have I screwed that one up? Milo Rossi. Oh my God. I just kept thinking of him as Milo. Oh yeah. Quality in podcasting. Thank you. Thank you. This is one of those times where I'm just freaked out and I'm like, have I been saying Stefan Milo this whole time? Just note to self, it's Milo Rossi. This is proof that I talk off the top of my head and don't have a script. Oh, Christ. Milo, if you're listening, sorry. And you can hear my voice is all cracked up and choked because I'm getting over my sore throat. Anyway, the Minute Man, Milo Rossi. Putting him in storage room B was like terrible. If you have a Milo Rossi and you're the Society for American Archaeology, do the guy a solid. Give him a decent room. Are you kidding me? Again, every deconstructionist, post-colonial Marxist had great rooms. Just give the guy, show him a little something. You hear me? Anyway, that was embarrassing. But so we set up, and how we started was we showed Flint had sent some PowerPoints on pseudoarchaeology and how to deal with the media and how to deal with pseudoarchaeology in the media. He always pushes the idea that he calls pre-bunking, which is really underneath it all. It's talk about archaeology, talk about real archaeology. Don't waste time just arguing with the other person or trying to disprove their proposition, because they're full of shit anyway. You're just dealing in shit. So why not just start by telling the true story or a related true story, right? Instead of just drilling down on the dumb pseudo-archaeology story, instead of doing really what I do here all the time. You know what I mean? Don't waste your time like me. Anyway, no, this pre-bunking idea is a great idea. It's what you need to do. Really, it's how he won against Graham Hancock. He was just like, no, I'm not going to deal with your shit. I'm going to just talk some stories about some real archaeology. It's the only way. It's the only way forward, among others, which I can talk about. But so we showed those videos to the audience, and then Milo talked about sort of his tips and tricks in the YouTube world. I enjoyed listening to it. These are very specific things for YouTube channels: how to shoot the video, how to edit it, what to edit it on, what kind of software, that kind of stuff. It was great. And then we had the audience get into groups. And then the idea was each of them was going to come up with a theme for a little video for them to shoot. And then we would shoot them in the coming weeks. We weren't going to shoot them that day. And then ultimately release them all together at some point in the future. That was a great idea. It's great. Keep everyone part of it. And then for the next 2 hours, Milo and I cruised around and just were helping the groups. Like the students were all in groups of 2 or 3 working together. And he and I would just listen to their ideas and give tips and tricks. Oh, this sounds good. I would do this instead. I'd do a little more of this, that kind of stuff. It was great. It was just like teaching class. I felt totally at home. And the students were great. They had great ideas. Obviously, I would just be stealing all of them. I'm sorry, students. I am going to steal them all. I'm going to give you no credit. It's just, how do you think I became myself? It's from crushing others. I hope that's what you get, students. Just be sure to crush others on your way to the top. It was just nice. It was like working with any group of young people. Like they were into it. They were jazzed. They had good ideas. They were listening. They took, for the huge percentage of them, took our constructive criticism. I was really happy to see that. They weren't like shocked and appalled. They like, oh, I see. Just really great. Man, there's hope for America. Those guys were really cool. So we did all this and it went great. So you might be asking, so Kinkella, why are you bummed about it? I'll tell you why. It was the audience. It was the students. Not for why you think. The audience, the students, were great. They were great. They had great ideas. It's because they were all young. I got nothing against young people. What I do have something against are the older people who weren't there, the people who absolutely needed to hear this. That's who needed to be there. The 40 and 50 and 60-year-old archaeologists, the people who are sitting there wasting all of our time with their lame Marxist, post-colonial, post-whatever, deconstructionist bullshit presentation that nobody cares about. Those guys, they needed to be there. They needed to hear about how to engage with an audience. If they took part in this, their own research would get better. That, for me, was the biggest letdown. And I could tell that even Flint's presentations, his PowerPoint presentations, were geared more to that older crowd a tiny bit. The idea of you already have a bunch of research. This is how to make it palatable to the public. This is how to outreach. Those people just didn't show up. We were preaching to the converted a little bit. Now, in a way, it's good because the young people will go on and do this. And that's freaking awesome. The young people can save us all. But I wish it wasn't all on their shoulders. It shouldn't be. Like my generation of people and the older generation and the slightly like this needed to be baby boomers, Gen X and millennials. And it was all like Gen Z. And that's who needs to do this. And that's who's making us all fall behind. My fellow people are screwing this all up. So it didn't break into that core group of conservative academic SAA goers who's just going to keep doing their same crap presentation that nobody cares about. And they're going to continue to write their same books that are freaking boring. Yeah, I said it. You guys, I'm too old and I'm too tired. And I've just seen it all in this place in terms of this stuff where it's dear the upper crust SAAs. And don't even get me started on the AAAs. They're gone. I will say this in confidence. After people heard me talk at some of these media things, people came up to me in silence, right? In corners and darkened areas in the SAAs. They came up to me and they were like, "Hey, Kinkella, I really think you're right." Because I was bitching at one point about just like this, just like I've done to you. And these people with power, people in control are like, "You're right." Like the AAAs, they're like losing membership. They don't know how to do public outreach. I'm like, I know I'm right. And I want to work with you, but I need more people to say the obvious. And when it comes to the AAAs, they're dying so bad. Part of me wants them to die. And I hate saying that. Again, this is the American Anthropological Association. I love that they're around. I want them to be around. I want them to survive. But if they won't make these choices to reach out to normal people and talk in normal ways, they will die and they will deserve it. So it's literally that thing they teach you in cultural anthropology about how culture has to evolve or die. Yeah, evolve or die. And the SAAs, you're right behind them. You've heard this note before. I am not the first person to say this. It's like I almost want to end this with an apology to Milo Rossi, besides saying Stefan Milo, who's another archaeologist who works on this stuff. But I want to end with an apology and be like, hey, Milo, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the SAAs put you in a crappy realm. I'm sorry that the SAAs gives you lip service but doesn't really listen to you. I'm sorry that the older generation of archaeologists just acted like you were nothing and didn't come to see your presentation. I totally appreciate that you would actually take your time to give a presentation at the SAAs. If I will maybe so bold, I think you're beyond the SAAs at this point. So thank you for dirtying yourself at the SAAs. I'm not kidding. To Flint, thank you for having me. It was such a blast, dude. I still need to meet you at some point. I absolutely want to be a guest on your YouTube channel. And maybe together, the three of us could, I don't know, save the world, or at least go on tour. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening to the Pseudo Archaeology Podcast. Please like and subscribe wherever you like and subscribe. And if you have questions for me, Dr. Andrew Kinkella, feel free to reach out using the links below or go to my YouTube channel, Kinkella Teaches Archaeology. See you guys next time.
The Archaeology Podcast Network is 10 years old this year. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy, our social media coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht, and our chief editor is Rachel Roden. The Archaeology Podcast Network was co-founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle in 2014 and is part of Cultural Media and DigTech LLC.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.
Running a business can be exhausting. Building your website shouldn't be. With Wix, you can express your ideas, give direction, then leave the heavy lifting to AI. From site creation to branded content and images. Have fun with the details. Customize what you want the way you want. And manage your whole business from a centralized dashboard with expert AI tools. Build, scale, and enjoy the incredible results. You can do it all yourself on Wix.